The coronavirus pandemic continues to wreak havoc across all sectors, with tourism being one of the hardest hit. The World Travel and Tourism Council warns the pandemic could cost up to 50 million jobs worldwide. Let's delve further into some strategies that Africa's tourism sector will need to implement to deal with the blow of COVID-19. The CEO of Tourvest Destination Management, Martin West, joins us now via Skype. Martin, good afternoon. Thanks for your time. So a lot of companies will need to start working on strategies to recover post-COVID-19. What are they looking like?
Hi, and good afternoon to you and your viewership. It's so nice for you to invite me on a Sunday afternoon. Many strategies are being designed at the moment, and it is certainly true what you've mentioned, that tourism is the one industry, and the tourism and hospitality is the one industry that is the most negatively impacted by this. Because firstly, it's considered on the leisure tourism side a luxury purchase, and secondly, by countries locking down, airlines being grounded, etc., simply makes tourism impossible, and it will have a very long switch-on phase again. So those strategies are focused around identifying market segments that might switch on quicker in order to focus on those in the interim, whilst waiting for the international leisure tourism, international conference tourism to come back. And I think this is where the focus area of companies lies at the moment.
And when can we expect that pick in the tourism sector, particularly in Africa? Let's talk about Africa, because the reality is it looks like we're going to be with this pandemic for a little while, and a lot of countries have still implemented lockdown. They've extended them. Many will be extending them as well. So when are we expecting that pick and for things to almost go back to at least partial normality?
So for the purpose of the conversation with you this afternoon, I'm going to focus on international leisure tourism because, of course, business tourism, i.e. business trips by corporates and by governments, conference tourism, incentive meetings and events might well have a very different comeback ratio. So let's focus on leisure tourism. Our belief currently is that 2020 is going to be very suppressed and largely a write-off to the end of this year. We believe that the comeback period will be in 2021. In the first quarter of 2021, we think that in Africa in particular, there's going to be a maximum of 25% of historic volumes. In the second quarter, 50%. In the third quarter, 75%. That drags through to the fourth quarter. And I guess the reality for us at the moment, or our anticipation, and it's uncharted waters, so it's anybody's guess, is that only in 2022 will we see some form of normality returning to leisure tourism, to Africa or any other major tourism destination in the world.
And Martin, I suppose what's also concerning is that, you speak about the 2021 comeback period. The reality here is that many airlines are actually losing a lot of money. They still have to service their airplanes, for instance. So even though there are not a lot of people coming, there's no profit being made by these airlines, they're losing quite a lot of money. So many of them are going to struggle when that comeback starts to even be operational and be able to operate in what's expected because of the impact that they would have felt over what would have been the previous months.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. There's many bottlenecks and many constricting factors that will prohibit international tourism to recover quickly. Airline capacity and frequency is the one that you noted, and I think you're 100% right. Of course, closing of borders and travel restrictions, travel warnings is a secondary factor. And then largely, and I think it's very important to note, is that in many of our source markets for all of the African destinations, and it's in East Africa, that is in Southern Africa, and it's in the SADC region, people in our source markets have lost a lot of personal wealth, and as primitive as holidays, and as a result of that, that holidays is the last thing that they currently consider, and I think that is very detrimental to the tourism development on the African continent. And there's much we need to do to switch it on as quickly as possible.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for chatting to us. That's Martin West.